It wasn't until Kevin Costner was 70 that he finally made the decision to come clean on his long and complicated association with Robert Redford, a figure who influenced his career in ways few people ever understood. But before reaching that moment of honesty, Costner's own journey had already been shaped by decades of struggle, persistence, and triumph. Born Kevin Michael Costner on January 18, 1955, in Linwood, California, he grew up in a working-class family where stability was often disrupted by frequent moves. His father, William Costner, was an electrician who later became a utility executive. His mother, Sharon Ray, was a welfare worker. These constant relocations taught young Kevin how to adapt quickly, build resilience, and develop a quiet confidence, traits that would later become hallmarks of his screen presence. Though he didn't dream of stardom early on, Costner always had a love for stories and creativity. He attended California State University, Fullerton, studying marketing and finance, but everything changed after a chance meeting with actor Richard Burton on a flight. Burton's words pushed Costner to pursue acting with genuine determination. He threw himself into classes, small theater roles, and odd jobs, slowly carving out a place for himself in an industry known for its difficulty and unpredictability. His rise wasn't sudden, but marked by persistence. One of the earliest breaks he received was when Lawrence Kasdan cast him in The Big Chill in 1983, although his scenes were later deleted. But Kasdan did not forget him, casting him again in Silverado, 1985, which finally garnered significant recognition for Costner. The late 1980s and early 1990s were the high points of Kevin Costner's career. It was during this time that films such as The Untouchables, 1987, Bull Durham, 1988, and Field of Dreams, 1989, took him to the very top rung of Hollywood's leading men. In each role, he played a character fueled by integrity, sincerity, and often sadness. Then came Dances with Wolves in 1990, which profoundly confirmed his cinematic presence. Costner not only starred in the movie, but also helmed and produced it. The movie went on to capture 7 Academy Awards, which included Best Picture and Best Director. Its sensitivity toward Native American culture earned lasting praise. He continued to dominate the box office and the public imagination throughout the 1990s with such films as Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, JFK, The Bodyguard, and Wyatt Earp. There he found great chemistry with Whitney Houston in this classic romantic drama, The Bodyguard, abetted by its soundtrack, which was a worldwide sensation. When the tides turned against such ambitious projects as Waterworld in 1995 and The Postman in 1997, criticism did little to tarnish Costner's reputation as a creative risk-taker. As skillful a musician as an actor, he performs as the lead singer for Kevin Costner and Modern West, whose music encompasses the themes of heartland America, love, and identity. Recently, Costner enjoyed a career renaissance in his starring role as John Dutton in Yellowstone. Playing the rugged, emotionally layered patriarch of a ranching dynasty introduced him to a whole new generation of fans and reminded everybody his on-screen presence can be both powerful and captivating. Off-screen, he has always been more down-to-earth. Fame didn't keep him from ranching, music, and time with his children. Philanthropy has also been a big part of his life, largely in support of children's charities and environmental causes. Costner's personal life has been just as complex and meaningful as his professional one. His first marriage to his college sweetheart Cindy Silva began long before Hollywood success. They married in 1978 and shared 3 children, Annie, Lily, and Joe. Cindy supported him through his early struggles, attending premieres at his side as his career exploded during the late 1980s and early 1990s. The pressures of fame, however, weighed heavily on their relationship. Long separations due to filming and the public scrutiny that came with stardom eventually created an emotional strain they could not withstand. Their divorce in 1994, one of the most expensive in Hollywood history, was painful for both of them, yet they remained committed to co-parenting and mutual respect. Costner has often reflected on how that chapter taught him hard but important lessons about success, sacrifice, and family. Love came back into his life years later when he met Christine Baumgartner, a model and handbag designer nearly 2 decades younger. Although they met briefly in the 1990s, they only started serious dating in the early 2000s. Their age difference grabbed the headlines, and at one point, they broke up over differences regarding the issue of children. Christine wanted more, while Costner wasn't as sure he could become a father again. Eventually, their bond proved stronger than their fears, and they reconciled. They married in 2004 at Costner's beautiful ranch in Aspen, Colorado, in a beautiful rustic Western charm combined with Hollywood elegance. Together, they had 3 children, Caden, Hayes, and Grace. Costner frequently mentioned that becoming a father again in his 50s gave new meaning and depth to his life. Through all these milestones, his career highs, personal struggles, loves, losses, and reinventions, Kevin Costner built a legacy defined not just by Hollywood successes, but also by authenticity, resilience, and a deep sense of humanity. For almost 2 decades, Kevin Costner and Christine Baumgartner seemed like the couple that never broke apart. From red carpet events and various other family and industry gatherings, they were hardly ever out of sight from each other. Christine stood by Kevin as he enjoyed years of success with Yellowstone, playing John Dutton in ways that reflected his stoic strength and fierce devotion to family values clearly close to Costner's heart. Steady and enduring, their marriage was a partnership based on mutual respect and shared dreams. But in 2024, they surprisingly broke up. Their marriage had been considered one of the most stable ones in Hollywood. Therefore, the news about the divorce turned out to be a great surprise for their fans. Similar to his first marriage, this breakup also drew much media attention. Though Kevin and Christine did not disclose too much, sources close to them said the increasingly hectic schedule of Costner, especially his involvement in his pet project Horizon, an American saga, had put a severe strain on their marriage. Both were heartbroken, but maintained that they would always put their children first and go through this transition with dignity. Kevin Costner has always been known for his quiet integrity and avoiding the gossip that is Hollywood. Approaching 70, however, he picked the right time to get candid about one of the most influential figures in his life, Robert Redford. The connection runs deeper than the usual bond between 2 actors. To Kevin Costner, Redford was not only an icon from cinema, but also the mentor whose artistic philosophy helped to shape Costner's path as a storyteller. In a reflective interview, Costner shared that Redford taught him what it truly meant to take creative risks. He admired Redford's calm intensity and that kind of presence which didn't seek attention, but drew people in naturally. Watching Redford work made him come to the realization that storytelling was much more than performance. It is purpose. This was an early revelation in Costner's career, when Redford was already a firmly established symbol of intelligence, independence, and artistic courage. Costner was deeply inspired by Redford's transition to directing. When Ordinary People came out, Costner knew it was possible for himself one day to step behind the camera. He wanted to tell stories that mattered and shape films with emotional depth and meaning. Redford showed him that an actor could become a filmmaker without compromising integrity. Their relationship became more personal when, in the early 1990s, Redford contemplated casting Costner in A River Runs Through It. Although the part ultimately went to Brad Pitt, the communications between the 2 men stayed with Costner. Redford said the heart of the film wasn't fishing or scenery. Rather, it was the unspoken tension between fathers and sons. Costner carried that with him for years, seeing shades of his own relationship with his father. It wasn't a friendship based on Hollywood parties or flashy industry events. It was a friendship built on shared values, in particular their love of nature and the American West. Redford's work with the Sundance Institute and Costner's life on his Colorado ranch reflect their mutual connection with land, quiet places, and the storytelling traditions rooted in the West. Costner joked they spent more time talking about landscapes than about movies. He also admired Redford's steadfast principles. In an industry that will reward compromise now and then, the latter remained true to his vision and continued to support independent film while lifting emerging voices. This moral courage resonated deeply with Costner. It gave him the confidence to pursue dances with Wolves, a project many had doubts over, but eventually became a career-defining masterpiece. Redford's example convinced Costner that trusting one's instincts was worth every risk. Even today, Costner still feels the lasting impact of Redford's tutoring. As a director, he often hears Redford's low, contemplative tone reminding him to take his time, find the truth, and give the story some oxygen. Because their bond was never once sullied by rivalry, but instead spoke to something unusual in Hollywood, a reciprocal respect based on authenticity. They were just two storytellers wanting to make something worthwhile. As Costner enters the later chapters of his career, he sees Redford not only as a mentor, but as a model of authenticity, compassion, and artistic bravery. He openly admits how much he owes to Redford's example. If any of his films have moved people or made them feel something real, he feels it is because mentors like Redford showed him ways to approach storytelling with heart and integrity. To Kevin Costner, the truth about Robert Redford is an elegantly simple yet potent one. Redford was never just a Hollywood legend. He was a teacher, a trailblazer, and a friend whose influence helped shape his life and career. At 70, Costner's tribute stands as a heartfelt acknowledgement of a bond built not on fame or competition, but on shared vision, creative courage, and a love for the craft that defined them both.